On any given night in this country, more than 500,000 people go without shelter. And a recent Harris poll found that almost 8 out of 10 of us live paycheck to paycheck, leaving many just one crisis away from homelessness. Is housing a right or a commodity? And what efforts support those of us in need? Affordable housing, ahead on Wide Angle. Recent statistics from the National Low-Income Housing Coalition illuminate a distressing situation in the Commonwealth. They rank Massachusetts as having the 6th highest housing wage, requiring that workers earn just over $27 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom rental, or work 100 hours a week at the federal minimum wage. And the picture across the country is not much more encouraging. In only 12 counties across the 50 states can a full-time worker earning the prevailing federal or state minimum wage afford a 1-bedroom rental. Joining me today to discuss this housing landscape is Pamela Hallett, a housing advocate with 30 years of affordable housing and community development experience, including the past 5 as Executive Director of the Housing Corporation of Arlington. Welcome to Wide Angle, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. I guess I'd first like to take a big picture look at housing.
Okay.
I think the last election underscored the notion that there certainly is a core of Americans who are interested in having certain services considered basic human rights. Yeah, it could be access to food, education, adequate health care, and housing certainly falls into that list.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, what does it mean if we say that something like housing is a right? And how do we require our communities to help make that possible and affordable?
Well, honestly, if you think about it, we are the greatest, wealthiest, most democratic country in the world. We ought to make those kinds of things rights. People ought to have a home. And so that would require, though, federal, state, and local commitment to make that happen, which means funding would have to be available. Right now, I think Massachusetts has $435,000 units too short to house enough people here. That's a lot of units when you consider each unit costs, what, $300,000 to $400,000 to build. But that would have to be the commitment to make something like that happen.
So it would require local, state, federal agencies to line up on this basic idea.
Yes.
Okay.
And provide the resources.
Right. Okay, and we spoke a little bit about this at Town Day when we had our conversation there. From a strictly capitalist perspective, you know where I head with this. One would say that if we can't afford to live in a particular town, then we simply don't live there. However, Housing Corporation of Arlington seeks to really tilt the playing field a little bit to the advantage of those of more modest means. I think the benefit perhaps is more clear for those individuals who are able to get affordable housing help. But for a town like Arlington, what is the benefit of having people who couldn't, strictly speaking, afford to live in town, live here?
Okay, so there are a number of reasons. One I spoke about at Town Day at length, in that when you're raising children, you want them to be as successful in life as possible, whether you're middle income, low income, or upper income. And one of the things that we all have to understand is the world is a very diverse place. There's socioeconomic, religion, color, sexual identity, it's all very different. And Arlington may be fairly homogeneous, but you step outside of Arlington, to Cambridge even, you step outside of Boston through Massachusetts and the rest of the world, you know, there's a huge diversity out there. And as an adult and a parent, you would want your children to be knowledgeable and comfortable with a whole variety of people. And in order to do that, you have to have them grow up and be comfortable with them going to school, being friends, being neighbors, and I think that's really important from just a basic, what can I do best for my children kind of attitude. In addition to that, I love the diversity of the restaurants in town. So, you know, if you didn't have the Mexican taco restaurant or the Indian restaurants, if you didn't have that kind of diversity, our town would be pretty boring. We'd be eating hamburgers and kale, maybe. You know, just the whole cultural aspects. It's one of the things that I've really treasured about my life is I've traveled and I've lived in Chicago and Virginia and California and Washington and Massachusetts, and I see my life as a tapestry of all the cultures I've sort of been exposed to and spent enough time to learn about, and it's made my life richer because of that. So all of those issues I think are really important to bring to Arlington.
I suppose conceivably another facet, another look into that is the statistics we spoke of previously about a significant portion of the people on the wait list for affordable apartments in Arlington through Housing Corporation are Arlingtonians. I mean, they're longtime residents who perhaps the person who had been their landlord was no longer, and now the new landlord has jacked the rents up to be more market appropriate. So there are people conceivably who we've shared the town with for quite a while.
Well, not even conceivably. Clearly have.
All right.
We get calls every day from people who are being moved out of their unit for a variety of reasons. The building's being sold, the landlord has died, it's being turned into condos, whatever. And they've lived here for 10, 15, sometimes 40 years. And suddenly, you know, they are faced with having to find a new place to live. And when you live in an apartment, it's expensive, you think, when you move in, but as each year you stay there, the rent doesn't go up dramatically each year, typically. And so by the time you move out in 10 years, you know, you may have been paying $700 when you moved in, you might be paying $900 now, you go out into the market, you don't see anything less than $1,500. That's a shock. And people don't have the resources.
And panic producing,
and
I would imagine.
It is panic producing.
So where do I go next?
Where do you go next?
So it certainly introduces the notion, as does the entire conversation, of affordability. Certainly one of Housing Corporation's main projects is the affordable apartment program. Affordability, however, certainly has a very subjective portion to it. What is affordable to one person may well not be affordable to another. However, I gather state governments, agencies, maybe for the sake of ease, not because it's really true, they put an objective face to affordability. And I guess my question would be around that: how does Massachusetts, and maybe Arlington, maybe it's a municipality issue, how is affordability considered when we're talking about affordable housing? What does that mean?
Okay, so there are several levels to that. All right. Housing Corporation of Arlington houses people right now in all of our units that make at or less than 60% of the area median income. The area median income is decided by HUD when they take statistics on earnings for certain metro areas. So Arlington is a part of the Boston, Cambridge metro area. And so each year they put out a schedule, what is considered 60% of median income for a one-person household all the way up to a 10-person household. And along with that, they also decide what the rents are in order to be affordable to people at that level. So we look at the 60%, and that is our cutoff eligibility for income at 60%. And we also put our rents at what someone at that level can afford.
For the sake of context, do these numbers sound right? So 60% of median income, excuse me. Around 41,000 for a one-person household. Does that sound right? And 47 for a two-family household. Almost 53,000 for a three-family household, and almost 59 for a four-person household.
That's
just to give a sense of how that breaks down. Certainly, one of the programs in Massachusetts that viewers might be familiar with, relative to affordable housing, is Chapter 40B.
Yes.
Yeah. And certainly, given the Mugar parcel
Yes.
of land in East Arlington, it's been in the news.
Yes.
So, as somebody who's long been involved in affordable housing, I imagine that you have a sense of this. Certainly, what I gather is it's a state incentive program, if you will, for real estate developers to give them to give them flexibility in municipal zoning bylaws if they're willing to incorporate some amount of affordable housing into their projects. Is that
somewhat right?
Okay, all right.
Across the state and actually across most of the country, there is a requirement that a locality have 10% of their housing be affordable.
Right.
In order to get to that level, since most of them have not met it after many years, they have in Massachusetts created this 40B. That's not what it's called across the country, but in Massachusetts, let's talk about 40B.
But it's a consistent phenomenon across the country.
It's common. Yes,
okay,
it's very common, and so it is a way for a large developer to come into a town, try to do negotiations. The negotiations don't work, and this gives them the right then to sort of demand that the town waive some what could be restrictions, zoning, that kind of thing, special permits. And his payback to the town is affordable units that would help them then reach the 10%. Okay. The problem with 40B, and I'll say it as an advocate, is that when a large developer comes in and does a 40B unit, the town can then count all of the units that he's developing, whether they're affordable or not.
Interesting.
Under the law, he's only required to do 20% of the units as affordable.
Okay.
So as a small CDC, a Community Development Corporation, I'm saying, wait a minute, we're doing all of our units affordable. Shouldn't that give us some kudos at least?
Right. But it sounds like, excuse me, it sounds like that's more a massaging of numbers going on by the town than by the developers. Is that right? In terms of saying they can count all of the units as affordable housing as opposed to just those that truly are?
Well, it's not the town, it's the state law.
State law.
So, and the town has to convince the state that they've met the 10% affordability across the board. And so that helps the town reach that 10%, actually. So Mugar wanted to build 200 and let's say 50 units. Only 20 of them would actually really be affordable, but the town could then count that 250 to meet that 10%, which actually would then put, I think, Arlington over the top.
I was going to say, so the most recent statistic that I saw suggested that that we were at about 5.6%.
Something like that.
So still a ways.
Yes.
But that would conceivably tip it.
Yes.
And certainly I think critics of the Mugar deal would say conceivably, okay, so the 40B is sort of the carrot being dangled that encourages us maybe to overlook wetlands protections and things like this, yes?
Right, and change the zoning, and don't worry about the fact that we might need more schools to service the children, and fire stations perhaps, and that kind of thing, yes.
All right. Okay, on that note, we're going to take a quick break and ask viewers to join us on the other side, where we'll take a closer look at the local affordable housing picture.
We'd love to hear your feedback. Email us at wideangle@acmi.tv. For information about this episode or to view other Wide Angle episodes, visit us online at acmi.tv/wideangle.
Welcome back to Wide Angle. I'm Peter Bermudes, speaking today with Pam Hallett from the Housing Corporation of Arlington about affordable housing. All right, as promised, Pam, let's focus on sort of the affordable housing scene particular to Arlington. Housing Corporation of Arlington boasts some 93 affordable apartments.
Yes.
And that's just a piece of the work that you do. So if you would, give us a sense of what it is that Housing Corporation of Arlington does, what the programs are that reach out to support people with affordable housing.
Okay, so we manage 93 units. We have hired Maloney Properties, which is a great management company.
Okay.
They're new to us this year, but we're doing very well with them. We like them a lot.
Good.
Then we also develop new housing units. Right. So right now we have 57 units in our pipeline.
Yep.
20 Westminster is our most recent one, which we have just started.
Up in the Heights.
Up in the Heights, right. And it'll be 9 units of affordable housing. 3 of them are accessible, and we're very excited about getting that one truly underway.
Good.
And then we have another 48 units, which will be actually on 2 different sites. One at Downing Square. There'll be 2 buildings there, one along the bike path.
Where's Downing Square? Downing
Square is at Lowell and Park Ave.
Ah, okay.
So behind the
also
Citgo station.
Okay, right.
So it's about an acre of land, just under an acre, and we'll have 2 buildings there. And then our other site is at 117 Broadway, which is currently the site of the food pantry, and Food Link works in there as well. Sure. So we will be developing a mixed-use building, actually. So first floor commercial, and 3 floors above, that'll be 14 units there.
Great.
So that's what we're working on there.
All right.
We also have then the homelessness prevention program, which we do an annual appeal every year to raise money to have cash to give grants to households that are in danger of becoming homeless. Right. So we give them grants with the idea of keeping them or getting them permanently housed. Great. So we give them up to $1,500 to move, to pay security deposits, to pay first month's rent, or sometimes to pay back rent. Okay. They have to be eligible, so they have to be 60% or below with the median income. They have to prove to us that they can be sustainable for at least 6 months, which means they have to have income and be fairly settled in. Yep. We only deal with Arlington residents because we raise the money from Arlington households, who are very generous, by the way. Yep. We raise anywhere from $28,000 to $40,000 a year for those grants. Yes, it's wonderful. Yes. And then as part of that, we also put on quarterly financial training workshops, I guess you could say it that way, that we have bank staff come in on an evening. We serve pizza and salads and food, and the staff takes them through how to budget, what credit is all about, how to, that you should be saving and why you should be saving. Takes them through the whole basic financial management of one's life.
Great.
Yes.
Great. There's also an annual Walk for Affordable Housing, which both raises money and provides a more public face to the organization.
Yes, we try and do public advocacy. So one of our main events is the Walk for Affordable Housing. Takes place in April on a Sunday, and we have a great time. Starts at like 11 in the morning, and we serve food for free, give out T-shirts, and walk through down the main street of Arlington, with our signs saying affordable housing, people honk.
We have bands this year.
We have at least 2 bands. We have clowns, we have balloons, et cetera, et cetera. So we really get the message out that, hey, this is an issue. We have to pay attention to it and come support us and have fun at the same time. It's a serious issue, but you can't have life without fun.
Exactly that. So good. Okay. All right. So that certainly provides a sense of the many balls in the air that HCA has. To me, it would strike me as obvious that Housing Corporation is an invaluable resource to the town, and certainly part of the answer to this problem. Yeah. However, the wait list of some 665 households is suggestive of the fact that the Housing Corporation can't do it all on its own.
That's right.
So there is 40B.
That's right.
However we feel about that, there is Housing Corporation of Arlington. There's Arlington Housing Authority.
Yeah, it has almost 500 units,
exactly
I believe.
That. Other than those resources that are more knowns in town, is there anything else? Are there any other projects, any other initiatives at the local, the state, the federal level that are maybe being worked on the horizon that could pick up where you leave off? Is rent control, from back in the 90s a possibility to be
Across
revisited?
the country, people are starting to talk about rent control or something similar to that. To my knowledge, nothing has been produced that really works.
Yeah.
But I'm on the Housing Plan Implementation Committee, and we are talking about a variety of different initiatives. So there's accessory housing, and actually at the state level, they are pushing an overall law at the state level so that municipalities don't have to make that decision themselves.
Okay, so accessory housing,
that
if you
would
could.
be a smaller unit,
Yeah.
probably up to 700 square feet perhaps. We
Okay.
haven't gotten that
Yeah.
detailed yet.
Yeah.
That would be in a current building, probably a single family, maybe also a two-family,
Yeah.
that they would want it to be owner occupied, the building.
Yeah.
And it would just be an additional unit that would provide yet another unit or 50 or 100 units of affordable housing. And it would also, the theory is, it would also assist the building owner in having income from the new tenant to help pay for maintenance expenses. There are a lot of large buildings, homes, two families in Arlington that are owned by elderly, and they're hoping to be able to stay in the building,
Sure.
but their taxes are going up every year, the operating expenses are going up every year, they don't have the cash for maintenance. And so the theory is, let's let them do a unit in their building that will produce income and perhaps assistance. I mean, a lot of people would come in and probably do the shoveling for them, and you know, maybe do minor repairs, cutting the grass, and make their life more suitable.
Sure.
And give them income that they need in order to maintain a building. It's interesting, there was an article in Globe just this past week. Boston is doing accessory housing, and Mayor Wash is pushing the concept at the state level, saying, we think this may be a good solution. There's also the tiny homes that's happening all over the country.
Yeah.
It's for elderly, it's for people on the move, it's for homeless,
Yeah.
it's for veterans, it's for across the board. But again, zoning has to be changed.
Right.
Because right now we cannot put that many units on a typical single or two-family dwelling lot.
Right. Okay.
So.
All right. So certainly things are perking. There are ideas being worked on and experimented with.
Yes.
Okay. Certainly, I'm sure there are people who are interested in the work of Housing Corporation of Arlington, certainly in affordable housing. A sense of resources that people might turn to if they themselves need assistance, if they would like to make a donation to Housing Corporation to make the mission possible to continue and expand, or other organizations' websites to look to find out more.
Well, our website is www.housingcorparlington.org.
Okay.
You can make a donation online.
Yep.
You can find out what we've done already, what we're planning to do, what other resources there are out there. For homelessness prevention, you can either send an email through that webpage or simply call the office at 781-859-5211 and ask to speak to someone about it. We have a social worker on staff who's in Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those would be the best days to call if you need help right away. And you know, that's the best way to go.
Okay.
Now, another organization that I think we've talked about a little bit here earlier is the National Low Income Housing Coalition. They are a national group. They are serious about low income housing. They do a lot of political advocacy, but their webpage is full of information. Any topic you want to look up, they would have something written. And though the research is done at a very, very high level, so it would be something that you could trust and really get some depth to the information, the issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Super. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, and anything else that we haven't spoken of today that you feel would be good to leave people with to ruminate on?
Well, first of all, I want to say Arlington has been very, very supportive of the Housing Corporation. We CDBG funds, we have many, many donors, and we just want to make sure that everyone understands that that's true. However, there are many more people in town. We would love you to become members. You can give us any amount you want and become the member. It entitles you to vote on our board of directors. vote on any bylaws changes, help us in our direction as to where we're going.
Yeah.
We have an annual meeting once a year. We just had it. We typically do it at Tango. This year we maxed out. We were at 75 people, so we may have to find a larger venue, but we'll see. And we fill you in on everything that's been going on. And we also have what we call the Community Investment Tax Credit, which is a great deal. We have many donors. Last year we raised $143,000 that way.
Wow.
People have to give a minimum donation of $1,000.
Right.
They get a $500, well, 50%, I will say,
Right.
Tax credit against their state income taxes,
Okay.
and then they use it as a regular donation against their federal income taxes.
Okay.
And after talking to many CPAs, that comes down to, for a $1,000 donation, it's about a $250 out-of-pocket cost to you. So that is how we've been able to buy the sites that we bought over the last 4 years,
Great.
which has been tremendous
Sure.
for us.
Sure.
And it's a great way to get involved.
Okay.
Great benefit to you, great benefit to us.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, I thank you for your time today.
Yes, okay, thank you.
And I thank you for your years of work. Obviously, I think they're making a difference in the lives of people, Arlingtonians and beyond. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk of housing and basic needs more generally is often shrouded in moral terms in our society, leading us to believe that those without have somehow brought this upon themselves. But I fear this places too much responsibility on the shoulders of the individual who lives within a much larger context, be it an elder on a fixed income in the midst of an economy where every living expense is increasing, parents trying to save both for their children and their distant retirement, or a young graduate trying to pay off college debt while establishing themselves in the world. We can control only so much. Yet, when we suffer the displacement of no place to call home, our prospects of regaining our footing is that much more imperiled. I am anything but religious, but I do believe religiously in the spirit of this common saying, "There but by the grace of God go I." It is my sense that we're much better off withholding judgment and simply helping one another, housing and all. On behalf of Pam Hallett, I'm Peter Bermudes. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Wide Angle.